make sure the microphone is on. I had a microphone malfunction to kick off the year, so I brought backup, and they said sharing is caring, so I brought you a microphone as well. We already got the comments rolling. Langston Wilson, L-Dub. Oh, thank you so much. We're going to give you time to ask any questions you got of today's guest. So, hey, welcome to the Cold Calling Podcast. I've got to calm myself down because I am about to explode. I am on fire right now. Super excited about today's guest, but welcome back. Season 3, Episode 2. I'm your host, Larry Long Jr., CEO, Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprises. Now, the Cold Calling Podcast is powered by our great friends, Monster Connect. Rawr! They're leveraging technology to deliver actual conversations. Where's my phone? Yep, that 500-pound phone. I've been doing my curls. Deliver actual conversations. Imagine this. You're a B2B seller. 8 to 12 decision-maker conversations every hour. That's what I'm talking about, Willis. Now, our goal with the Cold Calling Podcast is to help you by providing insights for sales reps, sales leaders around cold calling, around sales, and around how to elevate your game. Now, joining us today live, coming in from AZ Zona, you're in for a treat. Today's guest is highly decorated, highly accomplished, 16-year sales veteran, 4-time sales leader, 9-time strategic advisor. I mean, honestly, I got tired just thinking about all of his accomplishments. Wowzers. He's a LinkedIn top voice, currently working as a sales consultant, an SDR coach, a trainer, and he's been truly cooking up. Yeah, he's been in the kitchen. He's been cooking up lead gen, sales development goodness. Let's keep it real. Actually, greatness since 2020 as the founder of the SD Lab, focused on up-leveling the profession, that's you, and helping top of funnel fillers, that's you as well, to be great. Let's give a warm Cold Calling Podcast welcome to my homie, Tom Slocum. Woo! Welcome, Tom.
What's going on, man? I'm so happy to be here with you. We have had a journey for, 3 years now together, man. And when you asked, I couldn't think of a better way to kick this off. And that intro was incredible, man. Thank you for having me.
Man, you are incredible. And I like to get kicked off with, I can talk all day about how great you are, but the viewers want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I call this the who, the what, and the why. Who are you, Tom? What do you do? And why do you do it?
Absolutely. So I am Tom Slocum. As Larry said, I am a 16-year sales vet since the days of 2007. All I've ever done is sales outbound. I was that kid growing up that it was my dream to be a salesperson. I thought the briefcase, traveling the world was so great. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I got 2 kiddos, built and scaled SDR teams, been in a full sales cycle rep, discovered SDR world. And I just stayed there. It was great for me. I really enjoyed it. I loved that experience of making a cold call to nobody who knows nothing about you and getting them to say yes, and then watching that become a closed deal, knowing like the people you were talking to every day. I'd go to dinners with friends and be like, I talked to the VP of marketing over here at this company today. And it was just cool for me. And now I started my own company that I had dreamed about doing. It's called the SD Lab, which stands for the Sales Development Lab, basically. And what we do now is we help organizations that are looking to build, scale, or optimize their outbound function. A lot of founders don't know what they're doing. It's not their arena. They love their baby, their product, but now they got to go outbound. They make mistakes. They just kind of don't have that roadmap. And I've been doing this a long time. I've built and scaled teams that were very repeatable, very successful. I know that playbook, right? What is really important, how to get that motion running. And now we're doing appointment setting services done for you. So now we're helping to outsource that. And, you want the seasoned professionals to come in, put down the cold calls for you. That's what we're doing. And why we're doing that and why I fell in love with this is that, Larry, I just love to help people. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, it genuinely is my act of service is kind of my love language. I love gifting. I love supporting people, and it just brings me joy. And as a VP of sales last year, kind of watching founders getting tapped into the LinkedIn sales world, I just saw founders are just great cooks in the kitchen. They can create a great meal, but they don't know how to turn it into a business and actually build that business stream. They're always working in it. They're doing founder-led sales. And I just want to take 16 years of experience and take that 12-month learning curve and bring it down to 90 days and say, look, bring in an expert. I'll help you pick your process, your tech. I'll help you enable your people. You're not burning and turning SDRs. You're not looking for this founder rep to kind of build this motion for you. I will build it for you. And then collectively together, we can employ that system so it works. Or you don't want that headache, let us. Like, interesting fact, if you don't know, I've made over 500,000 cold calls in 16 years. Per the data, per the stuff that all I've ever done is outbound. I don't know what inbound is like. I've worked mid-market, SMB, I've worked enterprise, and I've made 500,000 cold calls. And so I know what I'm doing, right? I'm very seasoned in it. That's why I was honored to be here with the show and kind of talk to people about it, because cold calling's changed. But that's why I do it. I just want to help people get back to working on their business instead of in their business, and reach that dream of getting those meetings on their calendar in a way that is qualified, building those relationships and getting those deals closed, not just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and just hoping something sticks, or the spray and pray way that we were all so used to for so long. How to be very strategic, iron out your buyer persona, all those great things you got to do. So that's the who, what, why, and why I'm here today. And I'm very excited to be chopping it up with you, man.
Man, the feeling is mutual, and wow, you just dropped so much to unpack, and we're going to get to it. But after the who, what, and why, I got a little segment called Spill the Tea. And you shared, I could tell you just lit up when you talked about your family. And I saw a little birdie, actually it wasn't a little birdie, it was LinkedIn, told me that your 6-year-old Bella recently lost a tooth. Now, I know you got Bella, you got 12-year-old Adam, who's out there getting his riz on. Talk to me about the importance of family for you.
It's everything to me. And I don't want to take it down too much of a curve, but, I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have the mom, the dad. I had 5 sisters, but it was kind of broken. I just was raised by my grandparents on my dad's side, and never had that dynamic of a brother, sister, mom and dad, that nice home. My wife does, right? And she got that. She has a brother. Mom and dad are still together. They're all rocking. And it just means everything to me to be that dad for my son. We have our moments. Obviously, I'm that strict dad. I'm, on him. But I get it now. I demand excellence from him. I want him to be – it's cool to want to see somebody be very happy in who they are. I had a dream for my son. I did. Football, sports, all that great stuff. And for a while, he was into it. Then he started drifting from it. Now he's a gamer. He's into liberal arts. He just told me he's getting into debate club and drama club. And I was like, okay. He's like, Dad, I'm doing it. I was like, oh, debate club? Who are you? But yeah, let's get into it. And my family's everything. My wife is my rock. She has the person you see today is from her. We've been together 13 years, and she put a lot of work into this, dude. Like, she takes the credit. Like, she put in the work. She has molded. She has groomed. And been there for me, and then her family taking me kind of in as their own. And so it's what fuels me every day to show up with positivity, showing up, always looking to move forward in every step, and do everything I can to where they always are fulfilled. I try to balance. The hardest part is the kind of the work-life balance. It sometimes feels I'm not giving enough to my business, because I would love to go dark for like 7 days and be a single guy and just go all in. But I balance, right? I take my breaks. Every night we have family dinner. That is a non-negotiable for me. I sit down at the table. We say our dinner prayer and we eat together. My son hates it. He'd rather be up in his room playing his games. But I'm like, look, this is our time just for a minute to just hang out, and it just means everything to me. It's what fuels me, because those are my ride or dies at the end of the day. LinkedIn, I have great friends, homies. I have that circle, but those people have to put up with me every day. They're the ones that see the tears in the shower and then the happy smile 5 minutes later at the dinner table, So they daughter losing her tooth. She celebrated 100 days in kindergarten. And on that day, she went to brush her teeth, knocked the big old fat middle tooth right out. Got a cute little lisp. And if you haven't seen my kids, go look on LinkedIn and like there are mini-me's. It's really weird. My daughter is a spitting image of her mother, and then my son is a spitting image of me. It's really crazy, but there are babies, you know, and my son's 12. He's got all the riz in the world. He thinks he's Mr. Hotshot now. And my daughter films herself. She's becoming a little creator. We got all these videos of her just be like, tuning in live from USA. And like, you were here. And she loves to be on camera. And it's just, it fills my heart. It fills my heart, my cup, because I didn't get that growing up. So now I'm the fun uncle. I'm the fun dad because I like spoiled him really bad. My wife hates it because act of services and gifting are just my thing. And so we can't go to the store without my kids walking out with something of some sort. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, look, I didn't get that stuff. Like, my kids deserve everything they want. And I want to enable them to have, you know, the best course of life forward, and whatever that may be. All I want is that true dream of, are they happy? Are they comfortable with who they are? Are they validated and secured in who they are? Regardless of what society puts on them, they're good, because that is something I've watched all of us as adults kind of deal with, and I don't want that. I just want them to be happy and enjoy. And if my son doesn't play sports or this and that, like, are you waking up every day fulfilled? Then let's rock, man. I'm here. Dad's got you.
Oh, I love it. And thank you for grounding us in keeping your main thing your main thing. And I could tell how you lit up just speaking about your family. Thank you. Now you are touching the globe. We've got Uche. Thank you so much, Uche.
Uche, I love that
from
man.
Nigeria. Oh my goodness, love it. We got L Dub Langston. Looking forward to your insights, Tom. Ooh, we are in for something special today. Now, I've got 10 questions. I got my top 10. But to our listeners and our viewers, bring it on. This is for you. What specific questions do you have for Tom? We'll make sure that he answers them. But hey, I want to get started. You mentioned something that's just staggering. You've made over 500,000. I can't even add up that much. 500,000 cold calls. Ooh, what have you learned from all those daggone calls, Tom?
Man, it's crazy when I think about it, to make $500,000 over my career. And that's from SMB, mid-market to enterprise, all different verticals, you know, Yelp, GoDaddy, to reputation management services, to SDR boot camps, all that stuff, right? And financial services. And the one thing, there's three things. Number one, your tone is always going to be the number one thing. Be excited to address your calls. The body language that you bring and the way that you deliver what you say makes all the difference in the world. I could say anything and everything as long as I bring the Larry Long Jr. energy to that call, right? Like, don't answer. If they answer and be like, hi, you know, is John there? Hey, John, are you there? It's Tom over at the SD Lab. How are you? Right? How have you been? People feel that, right? They come in, they get excited. They're willing to talk to somebody that can bring that emotional pull from them, right? Because the only tool we have is our voice in the phone. There's no body. There's nothing else you get. That is all you have, because they don't see you. But you have to realize your body language brings a big part into it, and the way that your tone is going to elevate that longevity of that call or break it within the first 5 seconds. The other two things are really the pause. When I first started cold calling, man, I'd get lost in it and I would just word vomit. I would spew. I'd get through my script or what I needed to say. And then after like 30, 45 seconds, the person would be like, yo, that's not me, or this and that, or just hang up on me middle of the sentence because I'm just rambling. And it took me some time, but I learned the pause. Really slowing down, using the pause as your best friend. Hey, Larry, you know, I'm calling for this. And then just kind of stop for the 2 seconds and then go into your next piece, because it allows your prospect to process what's going on in the conversation and even get that chance to respond, right? And get in that conversation and maybe cut you off and say, hey, actually, Larry, I'm not the guy you should be speaking to. You know, you're barking up the wrong tree. Now you didn't waste 5 minutes of their time before they even got a word in. So pausing, your tone, and then like shutting up. when you ask a question, so I'm really still to this day still growing in this, but like over explaining something, or when you ask a question, you're adding 5 other things to that question. Ask the question and shut up. I had a sticky note on my desk in one of my first early sales jobs that literally said, shut up. Because my boss was like, dude, you gotta stop. If you ask them a question, ask it and let there be silence and just let that pause come in and let them, and if they don't answer, just hang out for a second, right? A little bad advice of like whoever's first to talk loses kind of approach, but it was like, give them that minute or just say the question and shush. Larry, what are you doing in your outbound process? If they have questions, they need more information, they have follow-up, they're going to ask it. You don't have to be like, so Larry, what's your outbound process? Are you doing XYZ? Like all this extra stuff on that then like you've asked 3 questions and they're like, well, what did you want to know, Tom? And I'm like, cool. Direct question. Larry, what are you doing in your cold calling today that's different than anyone else's SDR team is doing today? And then I would mute my phone. The mute button is your best damn friend. Put it on. And if you still have to talk or you want to interrupt the person or add your colorful commentary, put the mute button on, right? And make sure it's really on. There's been moments where you hit it and then you say something and they're like, what'd you just say? And you're like, nothing. Moving on. Make sure it's on, but like do that if you have to just say the question and stop. Then if you need to add color while they're talking, you can hit that mute button. But like that's what I've learned. And the 4th and final thing is people are people. Just have a conversation. Like people get so scared of cold calling and so wrapped up in it. LinkedIn gets them so terrified of it, and we'll dive into it because I know cultures have changed a little bit with the newer sellers of how to adjust the phone, go to the cold call versus what we were raised in. So I know times are changing, but it's just people. It's just people on the other line. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. It's just continuing to put into practice. I always consider it like if you had your baseball bat. I always give the baseball analogy. Best baseball player, hits a 300 average in the Hall of Fame, right? That means 30% of the time they make contact with the ball and get on base, a home run, something. 70% of the time they get nowhere. Strikeouts, pop flies, no progression to the game, but they have to keep showing up to the plate. Next time they come up in the lineup, they can't tell coach, hey, Larry, I'm good. I'm 0 for 3 today. I'm just going to sit back. You can go ahead and put John in. Coach is going to be like, what are you doing, dude? Get up. It's your turn. Come with a new eagerness and a fresh mindset and slow down. Read the pitches. Be aware of what's coming, And so I always tell cold callers that and callers, like, be ready at all times. Learn the pitches. There's going to be curveballs. There's going to be, knuckleballs. There's going to be fastballs that just come at you hard, right? But as you put into practice, look at some of the best baseball players. They start reading the pitches and can pick up on the cues and be like, all right, Larry, about every 3rd pitch is kind of throws in this, knuckleball. I got this time. And you start getting better and more cautious around when to take that swing and when not to take that swing. And then more often than not, you'll start, connecting and getting on base one pitch at a time.
Ooh, you just dropped the mic right there, Tom. That was amazing. Now I got a question for you. Are you standing up right now?
Oh, that's the only way I do it.
Damn, you
I gotta bring the energy, bro. The body language.
I gotta step my game up because you just dropped it with the energy. You dropped it in terms of how you say it, your tone, the power of the pause. I love how you shared. Sometimes you gotta hush. And I'm guilty of this, asking a question, and then I keep going, and it's like, did you ask the question because you want my answer, or do you just want to hear yourself speak? Guilty as charged. And I love that perspective that you shared, that people are just people. Let's have the conversation. So I'm curious, what are some of the most, because you're working with cold callers, what are some of the most common misconceptions about cold calling that you encounter?
My favorite one is that people always consider it intrusive. It always rattles me up when people are like, you call and it's intrusive. You're calling my personal line. You're calling my cell phone. And I'm like, look, there is a decline and an accept button. I would agree if it's intrusion if the phone automatically answered anytime you got a call. Could you imagine that? Like anytime the phone rang, it automatically answered. Now that's intrusion because I didn't select that, right? I didn't ask for that. But the fact is, it's just as simple as just ignoring the call or letting it go on, right? And so it's not intrusive. And I think SDRs automatically get themselves beat from the get-go because where their mental brain is already at, right? It's like a Kobe Bryant mentality, a Mamba mentality of like, don't already beat yourself because your mind isn't right, or you're already tackling it in a way from a discouraging standpoint or a failure point, or God, they're not going to want to talk to me. Gosh, everybody's going to be so mad at me when I call. Stop that noise. You're going to bring that, you're going to attract that energy. And so, yeah, as soon as you pick up the phone, that first one's going to hit you right in the chin, and you're going to be already annoyed, right? So it's not intrusive. You're doing, it's almost like a disservice, right? To not go out there and want to help people. I also think that's the other misconception is that cold calling, the only goal of cold calling is to book a meeting. I think it's BS. I think it's silly. I think that there's so much more to the power of cold calling than only focusing on an outcome driven, scenario, right? Even when I was building my business, you know this, Larry, like when I was building my business, the first 90 days, I had as many phone calls and conversations as I possibly could, not with the intent to get a meeting booked, but the intent to learn and understand. And we have a really cool opportunity. And I tell SDRs this all the time. On average, in a good week, maybe you're talking to 5 to 30 people a week in the role that you were pursuing. Okay. I talk to founders. So I'm talking to 5 to 30 founders a week. Learn from that, man, because other people are in a bubble, right? So a VP of marketing in their role is only internal. Maybe they're going outside their circle. Maybe they're on LinkedIn. Maybe they got a circle that they go in, but most often they're on their own island and they're operating from internally in their company what works. You get to come in with a fresh perspective and say, Larry, I actually just talked with Jill, another VP of marketing. She's working on Z, right? Or Y over here. I see you guys are kind of operating at C. Why is that? And then shut up. And they're like, wait, what do you mean on Z? I thought we were on C, like we're over here. And it's like, no, man, people are over here on L and O, and they're way further along from the conversations I'm having. Or, hey, Larry, from other VPs of marketing, they're telling me right now that this is a really big priority for them. Not necessarily what we're servicing right now, but this is something they're dealing with. Are you in that same boat? Because the idea is to be helpful. Be a consultative sale, not a sell the seller. Be consultative. Learn from the calls you're having. If you get a connect, take advantage of that crap. Like, why wouldn't you? You've been sitting there for 3-4 hours maybe waiting for a connect. You get one. They immediately hit with the rejection and you're immediately hanging up. Why are you so eager to get back to the voicemails and the dial tones? Like, talk to them. Embrace it and say, cool, maybe this isn't for you right now, but why I do have you, Larry, I think you could really help me and I can help you. What are you focused on right now? What is keeping you up at night? Or what is it that maybe someone in my network might be an intro that I can give you that maybe is something you're looking for, so it's a little bit more relevant? Or, hey, you know what? I know it's not a now thing, but I'll leave you with this tip real quick, Larry. Another VP of marketing actually just unlocked this in kind of their concept. They're trying out this little lever. Have you thought about doing that? No, I haven't. Well, why don't you do that? And maybe we could touch base in about 2 weeks. And I'd love to see how it goes for you guys. Maybe it could, pick up the volume for you in your, pay-per-click or your ads or whatever you're focused on. Now you're building trust, credibility, and a funnel. You're always selling. You always should have a buzzing pipeline to where you always know where you can pull a lever to get maybe that next meeting or that next progression in an account. And that all happens from of every call. Learn from it. As a founder, when I was first in this, I learned from every call of where my pitch was going wrong, what people really wanted to hear. I'd call people out and say, look, I failed this pitch really bad. What would it sound like if it would get your attention? Well, Tom, I need to hear this. Like if you came in and had done that, I probably would have given you the call. And guess what? More times than not, I can turn that into a meeting, right? I'll be like, oh, okay. We talk it out. And next thing you know, we're just having a conversation and now they're booking on my calendar and they're like, how'd that happen? Right? So I think just stopping from that, hey, cold calling is meant to book a meeting. It is not meant to book a meeting. It is meant to go to market proactively and learn from it. Because in those calls and enriching those calls and conversations, you bring collateral and intel back to your marketing. Now they know what type of collateral they should be making. Sometimes they're just throwing a PDF out just for fun because they need to make one, and the content doesn't really drive that engagement, give them what they should make. Hey, Larry was talking with a couple of leaders this week. They would really love a 5-step guide on how they could build a call first culture. Can we spin something up like that? Yeah, we got you, Tom. A week later, you got a one-pager on 5 things for a company to do to launch a cold calling culture. Now you use that in your funnel and say, hey, I know it's not a night right now, but check out this resource. 2 weeks later, they're emailing you back because now they have a cold calling culture. Their reps are putting up the numbers and they're like, dude, you help me. What else could you do for me then? If you help me there, what else could you do? Right. And you elevate that.
Man, ooh, that's powerful right there. And you're dropping it like it's hot. Uche said, thank you, Tom, for spreading your wisdom. We got Angelo dialing in. Salute from Atlanta. Ooh, the phone lines are absolutely buzzing. Now, you mentioned this. You kind of glossed over it a little bit. I want to dig into it. You've been around this industry. You've been around this game. It ain't a game for a while. I'm curious, in your view, how has the landscape of sales development changed, especially in recent years? We went through a global pandemic, some stuff. But from your perspective, how has it changed?
There's a few things. I started in 2007. Back then, in some of the industries, SDRing wasn't like a super common thing. You kind of just had full sales cycle reps. Like, I didn't discover the SDR role until like 2015, right? So for almost 8 years of my career, I almost have a decade of full sales cycle experience before I even got a decade of, SDR land, right? So it's kind of cool to have both edges. But it was, you did it all. You were cold calling, you were landing the meetings, and then you'd close them. And then it got kind of, separated. And they're like, okay, let's get a dedicated role for this. And then let's get this AE in here. And I think that, back then there was a lot of scripting. There was a lot of, here's the script, follow that. You'd get a whole training book and you just get thrown in. The other thing is you should just get thrown in. There wasn't really a major global scale of enablement or full training. It was just like, here's what we do. Here's the product overview. You're just going to go have to rip the Band-Aid and we're going to see if you either sink or swim. And we'll let the manager kind of iron out stuff as you get into it. And so you'd have like a class of 25 that would come in and only 7 would make it. That's why you always had training classes like every couple months, because you'd only get a few to actually stick out of that. Now in 2024, you see enablement. You see AI tools coming in to create simulators to let reps do the practice so they're not practicing on the prospect anymore. Man, we used to practice on the prospect every day. There was no such thing. Like, you just had to go do it. Now it's like, ooh, whoa, that's really bad. What are you doing? Like, no. Let's get you in some role plays or in a simulator first with some AI before you go out and kind of rep our brand and maybe burn, some roads first. So you see that kind of enablement space now where SDRs are really getting kind of powerful and enabled and empowered in a different way. You also see the biggest one we could just call out because everybody knows is spray and pray to now a more targeted approach. So now you're seeing the downsize of SDR teams. You're not having 100 on a squad anymore. You're having 25, but they're specialists. They're very, very locked in and they're doing the work of what that 100 used to do. You see email now being punished, right? Spam, man, COVID, you've talked about it. The global pandemic sped up the thrashing of email. Very bad. It was never this bad ever. I've been in this game since 2007. Email always was working. You could just kind of load a list and you were getting responses. Things worked. That's gone. Like, you do that now, good luck. You're getting a 2% reply rate. They're not even really responding to you. The email fatigue is so real. That's why, get back to the phones, right? Because all these, and I told you we'd bring this up, is, me and you, we embraced the phone because we were forced to growing up. I had to call my mom, my friend's mom on a phone on the wall and have that conversation, right? Like, you had to call your doctor literally physically on the phone to get that meeting or whatever. Now we live in a day and age where everything is online, everything is self-service, everything is through DMs, texting, social DMs. Like, Nobody uses the phone like that anymore. And so now you have to be very strategic in calling people, and these kids are, even myself, like, you get fearful now to call on the phone. Nobody's doing it. They'd rather sit behind LinkedIn, do some social selling, try to go these other avenues, product-led growth. You know what? We're not even going to have a sales team. Just buy the product and do it yourself. Like, it's all good. And then you have everybody just leaning into email. Cool. Let's just personalize email and just send people emails. And that way for 8 hours, we don't really have to be on the phone. And unfortunately, you're seeing that worked for a little bit, and now that's kind of struggling. And now the more teams I talk to, the more SDRs I talk to behind the scenes of the LinkedIn bubble and all of that, they're like, dude, it's not working. It really isn't. Like, I'm not seeing the open rates I used to get. My responses, even if I do personalize and put all this together, it's not getting it. It's not hitting, because every VP of marketing or any persona you're going after, every morning, as soon as they wake up, there's already 65 emails in their inbox. You're already lost, my friend. Like, you're trying to be a red X in a sea of blue circles, right? You have to be different. So your subject lines have to be very catching, but short. There's all these things where cut all that noise out and pick up a phone. You're getting right to the source, right? You're able to call Larry directly or leave that voicemail. Larry, let me ask you this, Larry. In your day, you wake up in the morning, how many emails do you think you have just to start the day unread in your inbox, real quick?
Stop, Tom. You're giving me a migraine just thinking about it. Too many. I'm inbox 0. I'm more like inbox 1 million.
How many voicemails do you wake up to or have on your phone on a given day?
Voicemail? What's that?
Right? So that's the point, right? Is even when I was a VP of sales last year for 5 months, I told people this. I was a VP of sales for a company for 5 months. And in that 5 months, I had 3 cold calls and I had over 125 emails. Wow. And I had 3 phone calls. And in those 3 phone calls, only 1 person would leave me a voicemail. The rest would just continue blind dialing me every couple of days. The only deal I worked with was the person that cold called me. I didn't answer the first time, which now is kind of the trend. Nobody's going to answer your first one. I'm going to tell you all that right now. You got an 80% chance of not getting that first connect. But respectfully leave that voicemail. And don't leave that voicemail to sell, pitch, anything. Larry, it's Tom at the SD Lab. No need to call me back. I got an email coming your way in your inbox. It's going to be titled Larry, Tom. Please look at that. I'd really like to hear your thoughts and if this is something up your avenue. If not, I'll give you a call in about 2 days, but this is my number. Now, when I call again, Larry's a little bit more prone, and a little that success rate goes up just a little higher, because now Larry knows that number. Yeah, do I have the risk of him blocking me immediately? Sure. If you're scared, again, if you go into it with failure, you go looking for that stuff, it's going to happen to you. Don't worry about that. Treat it as such that you're looking to help. The next time I call Larry, he's going to see that number come up and be like, that was Tom. I remember that guy. Do I have a minute right now? I do. Let me talk to him. And you're either going to tell me yes or no because you don't want me to call again. Now I've done my due diligence and you're like, look, Tom, I got your voicemail, man. Really appreciated that. This isn't a thing for me right now. Or, hey, yeah, I got like 2 minutes. I did have one question on what you sent over. What do you guys do? I'm looking at tools. This is all I need to know. Can you do this function? I can. Cool. Let's get on the calendar. It just helps. So just leave a little bit more voicemails than you normally would. And now with transcribe and all of that, like, they don't even have to listen to it. It's just quick, 30 seconds or less. No 1 minute, no crazy dancing through the hoops, no trying to bait and switch of acting like a customer or a prospect to them. Be real. Tom, at the SD Lab, I'm going to shoot you an email. Or, hey, Larry, I'm going to shoot you a quick personalized video on something I wanted to run you through. I'm going to shoot that over onto your LinkedIn if you can look for that. I'll give you a call in a couple of days to hear your thoughts. Talk soon. Use it to drive them to that sea of noise and give them direction. Because otherwise you're like, yo, I sent you an email, give me a call. I don't know what that is. And now you're putting the burden on them to go dig in their inbox, do a search for Tom Slocum, like all that work that is unnecessary. And the number one rule I tell people is take the burden off your prospects. In every email, in every touch point, stop making them work. Treat them like a 5-year-old that, like, dude, I've got so much in my day. If you write me a call to action that says, Larry, how are you tackling your outbound right now when it comes to, the social selling with the team? Now you've asked Larry to stop midday, if he does happen to open that. And what's Larry going to do? Write out an entire novel to you and say, so we deployed a weekly training last week. We're doing this, and spilling all of that. Would you do it? Probably not.
No.
You're moving on to the email. You're like, oh, too much work. But if that call to action is very quick, where it's like a 30-second, like in an Uber ride, right? And it's like, yo, I'm going to my next meeting or whatnot, and I can just simply reply 1 to 2 words to keep that conversation going. Cool. Then I get more replies that way when it's a way less ask and burden of the prospect. Or again, don't ask them to call you back. I've been doing this for 16 years. I can count on my hands and my toes how many actual callbacks I've probably gotten. It's just irrelevant. Nobody's going to be like, oh, I need to call this person. It's one in a blue moon, right? So just remember, take that burden off of them and find a way to enable them, to make it easy and help them, in finding that success.
Ooh, that's powerful right there. And we've definitely been through some changes. L. Dub Langston said, my first sales gig, they threw me a phone book and told me, here's your prospect.
That's what it was, man.
Oh, John, I've always told my team, loud, clear, and confident, and speak at the pace of those you are speaking with. Reiterating what you shared earlier. Now, Tom, I appreciate you talking about the changing landscape. I'm curious because you've seen it all. You've seen the good, the bad, the indifferent, the great. What are some of the key skills that individuals who want to have success, that want to excel in sales development, if they want to be the key lab statistician in the SD lab, what are some of those skills that folks need to cook it up from what you've seen?
Time management, number one. There's a lot thrown at a SDR every day. Meetings, jumping on the demo to introduce the AE, the research, the data, all these things. And the best reps I've seen have a plan every day. They iron it out. They're not winging it. They're not just coming in every day, opening up and starting with their email and just kind of seeing what a day takes them from there. Maybe they'll do these calls. Things fall through the cracks. They're not hitting all of their verticals. The manager's like, look, this lead hasn't been touched in over 8 days. What are we doing? All that stuff happens. So the number one thing is time management. And I recommend calendar blocking. It's a big thing. A lot of the top percenters will tell you to do it. Iron out, write down your week-to-week list of the things that are non-negotiable that you have to do every day, the other things you'd like to get to, and then block those all out on your calendar with color coordination so your brain will separate them, right? If you've got to call healthcare 3 times a week, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the morning. Rotate them, move them around, build those blocks. So that way when one action stops, you know exactly where to go next. If you get interrupted with a meeting, you're not coming out of that meeting and waiting 15 minutes to get back to it because you kind of go to the kitchen, you call a friend, you go do this. You know exactly what next step you're walking into. You're like, oh, I was calling my healthcare. Let me get back to that. So time management is always going to be the number one. I think another one is be willing and have the skill and the passion to want to do things outside of your 8-hour day. I don't know if it's a skill or what you would call it. I guess grit, maybe something like that, but do the stuff in the shadows. Do the stuff after hours, pre-prep your next day. You want to research and get better at talking the language of your buyer? After hours, go dig into that stuff. Go find the water holes of where your buyers are. Go study their space. Because again, just because you're an SDR, that's not your skill set. That's just a skill set, the SDR. That's not who you are every day. You should be wearing the hat of your prospect every day. If I work at a reputation management company, I'm an SDR for that, but I'm actually a reputation management person. And I need to understand that world. And I need to get equipped in understanding my product, how it actually helps, understanding the pains, challenges, and goals of my buyer persona. So again, I can have that consultative sale. I get on the phone with Larry, I'm one-to-one with you. I know your world. I'm not kind of guessing or pulling out of my hat what I think you're going through. I know it because I live in it and I've learned to have a passion for it. I tell SDRs, find a job or a space that you genuinely, regardless of the job, love that space. For me, it was SEO and website and the internet for a very long time. So I was in rep management and GoDaddy and Yelp and advertising, like those were the things I loved, that regardless of me being a sales rep, I actually just liked the conversations because I was learning and I had fun. I was asking questions. I was curious. And that allowed me to book a lot more meetings than my peers and actually have 5 to 10 minute conversations on the regular because I did that stuff after hours and really embraced the space. If you don't have that, you're not gonna love what you do, and it's going to show in your outreach and the way you're on the phone. Another skill, natural curiosity. Again, just be curious. Learn how to embrace that skill. Practice it. When you're talking with your friends, ask more questions. Practice that. Ask that extra follow-up question to go a little bit deeper. Larry says, "Oh, I'm going to baseball this weekend to, go with the Pee Wee League and get them going." Cool. Tell me about that, Larry. What do you like about that? Why did you choose that career? Oh, I just love being around the kids. I love the sport of baseball. Where did that come from? Where did that love come from? Now we're getting deeper and deeper. And as you're speaking, eventually that opportunity is going to come up to where I can position myself and be like, Larry, everything you've said is exactly why I called you, man. A lot of people we talk to just has a true passion for growing the kids in the role. They take it beyond just the game of baseball. They want to teach them the game of life. We have a curriculum that we actually put together for these junior league coaches that will help them in those skills. Would you be interested in seeing more about that? I would. Now I've gotten there with that natural curiosity versus, hey, Larry, this is Tom with so-and-so. We have a program for coaches like you, to just show kids how to develop in a skill of life. Yeah, dude, I don't have the passion for the sport like that. I'm all good. I'm just doing this as a side gig, but thanks so much. Have a great day. Right? Way different type of conversation when you bring curiosity into it. And if you could practice that eagerness to want to learn more in every interaction, you'll win further. And so those are kind of my 3 that I would say, if you want to be that top 1%er in the top of the funnel, focus on those 3 skills. And I promise you, you'll find enjoyment going to work every day, regardless of what's thrown at you. Your bad manager, your bad territory, your bad whatever it may be, you'll just generally love coming to work and enjoying what you do.
Oh, that's powerful. Curiosity might have killed the cat, but it certainly helped the sales professional. I love what you said and how you phrased it. Do work in the shadows. For my folks in the back that might not understand what he's saying, you got to practice. You got to put in the work outside of the normal business hours. And then you nailed it with your number 1, calendar blocking and time management. Now, I'm going to do something that they tell us we should never do. They say you shouldn't stack questions, but I'm a rebel with a cause. I'm a stack question.
Yeah,
I
you
want
are.
to know. I've got 2 questions for you. Number 1, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received regarding sales, cold calling, lead generation? And then I want to turn it around. What have you received? And then I want you to turn around and what advice would you share with our listeners, with our viewers that want to have success in sales development? What advice would you share with them? So number 1, best advice that you received. Number 2, what advice are you going to give to our listeners and viewers?
The best advice I ever got that really helped me push my career was be a strong number 2 for the number 1.
Ooh.
And what that means is a lot of people tend to not want to do the extra work unless they're going to get paid for, they want to be an AE, but they're not going to do the work of an AE until they get the pay of an AE. Then it's already too late. You're already kind of behind the curve, right? You want to be a manager, but you don't want to start doing managerial things until you get the title and the role. And what I learned was, behind every number 1, remember there's a number 2 that made number 1 look good, right? Look at Michael Jordan, best Hall of Famer, the GOAT, but his number 2 was Pippen. Pippen lifted him, right? You look at, Tom Brady, he was the best number 2 he could be to Belichick, right? And he showed up. He didn't wait to be a coach. He didn't wait for the tap on the shoulder. He showed up to support Bill and whatever Bill needed. And Bill took care of Tom, right? And so when you realize that and you start going to work every day to find out how you could be the best number 2 to those around you that are number 1, before you know it, you start getting tapped on the shoulder for things. Your career starts changing. People start coming to you And the other advice in that was, if you're up for a promotion or you want that promotion, always think about, you're ready. You're ready for that promotion when you know that if you were to get it today and all of a sudden you were that team lead, that manager, that AE, would people respond in the internal company, oh man, Tom got that. That's so lame. Why did Tom get it? Like, it should have went to this person, or Tom doing it, really? Or do you want people to be like, well, yeah, Larry, I thought you were already the manager. What do you like? That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. Like, I thought you weren't in that role. Oh, I didn't know that. Or like, yeah, like that's how you have to look at it, right? So my best advice is, when I stopped kind of being selfish or so focused on me and fighting for the manager role, I got told no a lot in my career because I was always so eager. And I thought after like 3 months of putting up numbers, I was ready. And I'm very grateful now. A lot of them said no to me. But when I started learning how to just do those things before I was asked, and just put in that work and find those around me, how can I help you? Hey, Larry, I see you're kind of struggling lately on the numbers on, your email reply rates. How can I help you? Is there anything I can do for you? Do you want to run some of your emails by me? How can I support you? Hey, John, my manager, looks like you've been putting in a lot of late nights, man. Is there anything I could take off the plate? I would love to learn reporting or learn how to do the dashboards. I'm open to that. And then you start doing that stuff and you become a really great number two. That's how you'll progress. And so that was like something that really stuck with me forever, and changed my career for the better. So where then most every job I went to, I started getting that higher level stuff and getting more responsibility. And then I became irreplaceable also, because now I knew so much. It wasn't just a SDR or this one role. It was like, if a layoff came, I just got moved to a different role. I didn't get laid off. I just got moved because I could do those other roles. Or, a team member would go down, I got looked at. Hey, can you take on the weight of that? Like, that's my advice, is be a good number two to a number one. And whoever that number one is for you, find a way to make them always shine and look good. And you put in that stuff or take stuff off their plate. I promise you, when those promotions come around, those people in the room, when they're saying, hey, who should we bring up? Tom, hey, you should look at Larry. Hey, Larry's been doing this work for months. And you guys don't know it, but he's been closing deals on the side on a smaller deal cycle for like the last 6 months. He's ready. Now you're ready to get right into the role. And everybody's like, oh yeah, I thought you were already doing that. That's great for you.
That's powerful.
For the advice that I would give to anybody, in sales in general right now, I know it sounds so cliche and so silly, but if you can put in your mind, the analogy is how to be the Alfred to Batman for your prospects and your salespeople, or the people you're reaching out to. Batman was awesome. Again, going kind of back to number two to number one thing, Batman always had big giants to take on, and he always killed it, showed up for Gotham. But everybody forgets the fact of, how did he do that? There was Alfred in the cave. Alfred put together the tech. He would figure out the strategy and map things out, and then give Batman the plan, and then Batman would go execute. And so how can you do that for your prospects? How can you be their Alfred to their Batman? What is their Goliath? What is their dragon? And how can you help them slay that, regardless of what that outcome looks like for you? Because as we all know, Alfred just hung out, never asked for a thing, never wanted more, never was trying to be like, well, let me go out there and help you, right? He brought in Robin when he could have just employed Alfred maybe, right? But he brought in a whole nother guy. But Alfred just did what he did to make sure Batman was always cared for and supported. And so my advice for you is, be that homie, be that Alfred to your Batmans, and find ways in your touch points. People always like, how do I build a 15 touch point cadence for a prospect? You're thinking at it wrong. You think every email should be a sell. So of course you can't build that. You think you're going to get annoying. But if you build a sequence where you're giving gives and gives and gives, hey, check out this podcast. Maybe this might be up your alley. Hey, did you see Larry's post the other day about this? Hey, I created this one pager for you on how you can remove this roadblock right now. Hey, you might be dealing with this because I talked to John over here. He was doing the same thing. I wanted to give this to you. Or anything you might be able to do, to support them in that mission. You're going to find a lot more success in your sales funnel, a lot more meetings and deals coming out of those meetings. They're not just going to be meetings. They're going to turn into relationships for your company, and they're going to turn into big wins because you're looking to help more than you are to sell. And that would be my advice: is be the homie, be the Alfred to their Batman, and lift your prospects up, not push your product or agenda on them, because that'll never work.
Wow, that's powerful right there. And delivered like a true champ. Your future homie-in-law. I see what you did there. Oh, goodness.
I love that slogan, man. That thing has popped off for me. Everybody's like, what is that? And it's, for those listening, like, your future homie-in-law or homie-in-law is kind of that crossover between, you have your family, you're in, your bond, then you have your friends, your best friends. This kind of merges that all into one, where it's like your in-laws, right? Like, they're not blood related, and they're bigger than a best friend. They're a homie-in-law. They're my homie-in-laws. Like, we are locked in. This is the squad. And I will be your future homie-in-law. Like, we're in-laws, man. And I'll be your friend, and however I can support you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Hey, Tom, as we start to land the plane, I got another 2 questions for you. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? And also, what's that next phase of great for the SD Lab? I know you got it cooking up. Give us a little insight. What does that next phase of great look like?
Yeah, so obviously right down here below, find me on LinkedIn. I live and breathe there. I've been on there for 3 years. It's my favorite. Shoot me some DMs. Be cautious. The DM box over there is just not great, but it is my best chance to get a hold of me. And then you get familiar with my work because everything's there. So LinkedIn is where I'll live and breathe. Follow me. Shoot me a voice memo. Big into voice memos, so shoot those. And then, what's next right now for the SD Lab is really focusing on, year one was all about the foundation, the process. I worked in the business. I built it from the ground up, figuring out what worked, what my services were going to be, all the bumps and bruises, to where now I'm really trying to look at scalability and getting to a point where I'm actually living my own playbook and what I teach companies, to get to the point where I move into the CEO role and I get my squad. I get some people coming in on the team to start delivering with the clients, and take that on, because things are cooking, things are great. And that's the next step. And then it's really just kind of, again, getting in the lab and figuring out what really is the number one focus of 2024 for sales leaders and companies, and figuring out what I can offer there to fix that, right? And really testing that and talking with my clients, and, hey, it's cool to have done for you or go through this stuff, but like, I want to move towards like productization of some things, of like, again, what are those gives that you don't have to work with me, but if you come to the website or you come and interact with me, there's things that I can give you on lower entry points or no entry point at all that will help you build your motion and doesn't require that full commitment to me, right? And so I'm trying to go into all of that and really get this to now be a business. And so that's what's cooking. Delivering with clients with new innovative techniques. We've been trying some really cool stuff. Voice memos has been at the top of the funnel, trying to drop those. Now we're doing voice memos with like 3 bullet points. Played with that over some discussions with some folks, because some people are like, voice memos suck. You can't go back to them. They get lost. I might not be able to sit down and listen to them. So now I'm trying a voice memo with like a 3 bullet recap. So I dropped the voice memo and then just 3 bullets, like a couple words of like, this is what it is, this is why you should listen, and this is what you'll gain from it kind of approach. So right now, I've actually just been in a creative phase. I'm actually kind of looking to fail at outbound and break some things and cook some things up to kind of keep fresh in the trenches. Because I actually am a practitioner, right? Like, it's 500,000 cold calls and counting. I'm every day making cold calls to founders. I'm every day working with my clients. I still do the work for the clients, right? And so it's just like just figuring out where the landscape is going, man, and be innovative and find how I can really help these orgs elevate. Because it's cool to run the same playbook with 4 or 5 clients, but then they're all doing that. Then the next thing you know, your subject line's in everybody's inbox, your tactic is going everywhere. I'm trying to find things that are super creative to kind of go left field while everybody's going right now. So I'm willing to do that. I got the safety zone for that. So I'm kind of testing in our own outbound, like, where we can break some stuff, and where we can do some things different. Back in 2020, I did cold FaceTime, right? Like, I tried it. I made 50 of them. I booked like 5 to 10 meetings out of it. And it was interesting, right, to see. And Jed and the other guys were putting it out there as well. And that was something I did with my SDR team, right? And so just being willing to be fearless and cook some things up. I might release a program for SDRs, like a curriculum, just to get them up to speed. So there's a couple of things cooking, but it's all about elevating the space. How can I move it forward? How can I teach some fresh new perspectives versus what everybody else is doing, which is the old repeat of stuff, because they don't prospect anymore. They haven't been in the trenches anymore. They're just kind of regurgitating the same stuff. I'm very lucky to be a live practitioner and somebody with the experience. How can I kind of freshen it up a little bit?
Tom, that's exciting. You got me excited. TV, Tommy talking about your future homie-in-law. We got Uche saying, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Tom, for sharing the most valuable information today. Tom, on behalf of the Cold Calling Podcast, our sponsor, Monster Connect, our viewers, our listeners across the globe, I can't thank you enough. And I'm super excited to see what you got cooking up, because the future is oh so bright. You're in the lab, you're testing, you're trying, you're serving. Just absolutely amazing. Marisol, thank you, Tom, for sharing your knowledge and energy. Just sincere thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this week's amazing episode, number 2 of the Cold Calling Podcast. Tom Slocum is amazing. This is a quick reminder. Please make sure to join us next Wednesday. We'll see you Wednesday, January 24th. Same bat place, same bat time, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, as we welcome the amazing Nikki Ivy. Let's go! So we wish you all the best. Happy selling. Go out there, smile, dial, and serve someone today and every day. We got to catch up. 500,000. The bar has been set. Woo! Let's go ahead and do it. Tom, thank you again. All the best, y'all. Peace. Oh, man.